All right. Well, it's nice to see you again.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm very happy to bring back to Innerview an artist whose career spans more than 17 years. He formed his first group, Joker's Wild, at age 16. By 1968, he was a full-fledged member of one of the most influential progressive rock groups ever, Pink Floyd. He released his first solo album in 1978, and now, 6 years later, and with Pink Floyd in kind of a mysterious limbo, he's recorded his second solo album. It's called About Face.
I've written more lyrics on this album than I've written in my career to date, in the last 16 years total, I think.
Yeah, this is very prolific work for you.
Hard work. I mean, I've been through and discarded a lot of stuff.
I'm Jim Ladd. Welcome to an Innerview of David Gilmour. David Gilmour's solo album, About Face, features an impressive lineup of talented people, including one songwriter who's made rock history with The Who.
There's two tracks. There's All Lovers Are Deranged and Love on the Air. Both the titles with love in the title are Pete Townshend's lyrics.
So with that in mind, I first asked David about Pete Townshend's lyrical contribution for the song Love on the Air.
Did you collaborate on music, or did you bring
No, I sent him a finished tape of the track, which I'd written 2 or 3 different sets of lyrics for, and I didn't like any of the ones I'd done, and I couldn't quite get one that I felt good about. So I called him up and he said, sure. As Pete told me, I mean, it's a song about making music and putting it out on the radio and through the media, where you are committing something of yourself, your love or whatever, onto, and that is going out in one direction, and you don't get an answer. It's very interesting. I liked it. Immediately I heard the lyric. I've got, at home, I've got this same track with him singing over it that he did on a little Porter studio thing at home, sort of rough. It's fantastic. His singing looks brilliant. But you have to ask him, you'd have to ask Townsend about that, if you wanted to deeply get into what the lyrics are all about.
Have you known him for a long time?
I've known... I mean, we played support act to The Who back in the 60s, over here in the States and stuff. So I've known him a little bit for a long time, but I don't really know him very well even today. I met him in Eel Pie Studios when we were doing the Final Cut album there. And he said, we were talking in the corridor there, he said he liked the last solo album I did. I said, great. He said, listen, if there's anything you ever want, any help I can give you in any way on anything, give me a ring. So I got towards the end of this album and I was still pretty stuck on 2 or 3 lyrics. I'd done things, but I didn't really like them. And I thought, well, he did offer.
In his song Until We Sleep, David writes about a moment each of us experiences, the realization that nothing lasts forever.
It happened to me when I was about 13 and it's been with me ever since.
What was that?
I don't know. I don't know what brought it on. It suddenly hit me. How temporal it is. And
at 13?
Yes. I got the scared out of me at 13. Just not through any incident. I just, had a slight sort of cosmic awakening. When I was 13 and thought, well, I might as well enjoy it while I'm here,
Because it ain't going to last that long.
Right.
Because this song really seems to say that, as far as just, be awake, be aware of it.
So it is one of my sort of obsessions, I suppose. I mean, I covered it to a certain extent on my last album, and I was doing it on this one, and I was, I'd actually had more of them, songs which tend to get in this sort of morbid frame of mind on this album, and I suddenly went, I've got to cool it a little bit, try and cheer up. Because I'm not like that all the time. I by no means it is just one of the things that I tend to find myself writing about. Dance to the movement of the stars, sing till the walls around us ring, or around you ring. Pray that it never fades away until we sleep.
Another track on David Gilmour's LP About Face was in part inspired by John Lennon. It's called Murder.
It's a song that started off as a general sort of thing about murder when it first started. And then I didn't realize at first what I was actually really writing about. But it became obvious to me at a certain point. Because you can actually start writing things and think you're writing about one thing, but you realize later you're actually writing about something slightly different. And I was actually just writing about murder in general at the beginning, but it did sort of turn into John Lennon at a certain point. I think it always was.
I'm glad that you said it was about Lennon, because I kept getting this.
Sort of is, I got really angry about that whole thing. It really, for a long time. I mean, I only wrote this song during this last year, and every once in a while I seethe with rage about it. I do get very angry about it, and it's sort of unfair, really, to get so enraged about one particular murder of someone that I never even knew anyway, when there are so many other ones that go on in the world. But one should get just as angry about all of them, about any senseless murder, or killing of any sort. But that just happens to be the one that really brings it home to me. I hate to get into that, I hate when people bring out records about things like that, I get bugged by it, which is why I didn't want to be very specific about it.
Well, it doesn't say, until Lennon here or anything.
No. I mean, I don't like all that stuff, but I just couldn't help it coming out.
Okay, in Blue Light, who's the horn section of this?
It's bunch of English guys called the Kit Coins, they call themselves.
They're good.
And they're very, very good. Yes, they're just some young English guys. I don't really know what they've done, to tell you the truth. The engineer I was using at the time just recommended them, and we tried them. We were very, very pleased with them.
This is a real unusual arrangement and a real unusual song, period, for you. Did you arrange this thing too?
Well, this is the song. There was one track that I recorded, and the same time when we were setting up for it, we did a sort of jam session, so the musicians and I in Paris. And it was just like a jam, but we were doing it with digital delay device that I've used before ad nauseum. And so we were using a drum machine as a click track, so that we'd keep in the right tempo, because it's necessary for that particular device that the drummer stays in with the guitar rather than the other way around. And we'd done this jam, and I hadn't even played it. And when Bob Ezrin came in on the record halfway through, I didn't originally play it to him. When I eventually played him this thing, he said, "Wow, that's terrific," But we decided that neither of the two tracks were quite interesting enough on their own. So we got out the razor blades and started chopping up chunks of tape from each track and joining them together. And that's what the basic track of it comes from. It's from two actual tracks.
I've never heard you play guitar. There's some great guitar on this one, I must say, but that really fast riffing that you're doing there over
in that track.
Yeah.
It's not very fast, you see. It's the digital delay unit does all the work.
Aha. Come on now.
All I have to go is dum 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 dum. That's all,
And the digital delay
does all the rest for you. Yes. It's a trick. It's a trick I discovered years ago to impress people.
I don't know if this is modesty or a reality that we're talking here, but
I'll show it to you one day. Show you how it's going.
All right.
Songwriters sometimes struggle for months searching for the right lyrics. Other times, the words just pour out, as was the case with the song called Out of the Blue. But as David puts it, it didn't happen fast enough for producer Bob Ezrin.
The album was sort of more or less finished. We were just, we were a couple of days away from doing the orchestra dates, going, which is one of the last things to do. The album was more or less done, and suddenly it went boom, and it started coming out. And Bob had just flown in from Canada, and he was at Michael Kamen's, and they were starting to write the arrangements out. I rang him up and said, "I'm sorry, Bob, I've got another one. I think we're going to have to do it." And he said, You can't. It's too late." I said, "I'm sending it down anyway." And I sent it down to him, and he called me back when he got it and had listened to it. And he said, we have got to do it.
Conversation now turns to a song that looks at nuclear proliferation in 1984. It's called Cruise.
Actually, Reagan dubbed the MX, in quotes, the peacekeeper. Now, I'm sure you've read the book of the year that we're living in now, 1984. Have you ever read that book?
Yes.
And the word newspeak, doublespeak. I mean, this is right out of there. Calling a nuclear device a peacekeeper is like right out of the book.
it just feels futile to get up and rant and rave and to preach about what should or shouldn't be. But sometimes you can't help but making some sort of little statement about how you feel about things. Some people who heard it were very, very concerned that people would misunderstand its intention. And I said, well, you know, I can't cater to those people. I can't worry about people who are going to misunderstand something if they don't listen to it properly.
No, you can't. You can just do it. Well, certainly tongue-in-cheek. I mean, you have to kind of take it that maybe this is a little sarcastic, the way you're discussing the cruise missile.
Well, it just struck me at the time that a love song to a cruise missile might frighten people actually more than spouting about it, because if you spout off about it, they don't want to listen anyway. Even if we considered that Russia and America were two big sensible boys who wouldn't ever do anything silly with these things, I can't myself really believe that if we had nothing, that, you know, if when something like the Argentinian thing had hit up, that old Galtieri wouldn't have chucked one at us if he thought we hadn't got one at all. You know, some of the real lunatics around the world, of which there are a number, you know, in the smaller places, you know, people that they've got rid of Amin now, but he's still alive and kicking, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, but, you know, those sort of people having absolutely nothing. So I don't really know. I'm still confused by it.
Next, David and I discussed the track You Know I'm Right, mind you, without mentioning any names.
All right, now in this next song, I'm going to be real kind to you here and just let you tell me who this song is written about. I have a great idea. Personally, I have my
own. You're not the first person who had a great idea. And in its initial stages, I plead entirely not guilty. I wrote the first verse of this thing entirely about a relationship with a girl. And someone looked at it and went, all right, own up. We know what this is all about. And it wasn't. But from that moment on, I still had to finish writing the rest of the damn song. And of course, once that seed has been planted in your mind, it's very hard to get rid of. So it, you know, it was not about what you think it's about. What I think you think it's about. And
to get real specific here,
But that sort of did enter into it, and I did take a little sadistic pleasure in pushing one or two lines in it more in that direction than maybe I would have done if I hadn't had that pointed out to me. Nick hasn't quit, and Roger hasn't told me or Nick that he's quit. So as far as I know, we're still technically in existence, but when or if we do anything again is anyone's guess.
I see.
It's not going to be for a while.
Yeah, no, well, both.
We could all use a break from it, frankly, and
you may find out this is a good thing too. You know.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so.
You know, let him get his out of his system and you out of yours, and then maybe come back with fresh ideas.
If we want to, you know. I mean, who knows? I honestly don't know. I don't know for myself what I would want to do.
Yeah.
I'm putting everything, all my resources of mental and physical energy into this record I'm doing now of my own, and the touring that I'm going to do with that. I like the record. I'm quite satisfied with the record. And if the tour is as much fun as I hope it will be, I don't know. I may not want to do it again within the Floyd. But on the other hand, I may well want to do it again.
You know,
I don't want to close any doors on it. And I don't think any of us do. But we don't want to be tied to each other for life, you know. It's been a long marriage.
Well, thanks for listening to this interview of David Gilmour, and I especially want